Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Heather, for that introduction. Again, I'm Todd Mon, the County Administrator, and I've got a great panel here to talk about infrastructure projects in Queen Anne's County. And let me introduce them. Going from my far left, we have Stephen Cahoon, our Public Facilities and Infrastructure Planner at the Department of Public Works. Seated next to Steve, we have Megan Delgadio, our ICE Information and Communication Technology Support Manager at Queen Anne's County as well. And we also have from Maryland Department of Transportation, Melissa Williams. She is the Director of the Planning and Program Development of MDTA. And all of our esteemed panelists have been serving the government and public sector for over 20 years, and they're all very dedicated experts in their respective fields. So what I want to do first is provide a brief overview of the county's current and ongoing and planned infrastructure projects that are essential to our citizens and provide services to our businesses and have a direct economic impact. So I've categorized these in 5 general areas. First, education. Second, public safety. Third, water and sewer services. Fourth, recreation and tourism. And lastly, technology. And I can say that we have many more capital projects and infrastructure projects that I'm going to highlight here today. We have a very robust capital program, but these are some priorities that I thought would be important to emphasize to this particular group. And I will also say that the priorities here, all of our priorities are established via our annual county budget process with direct input from all of our county departments, our local county and state agencies, the Board of Education, obviously, the general public as well, the business community, all of which are then ratified by our county commissioners as leaders of our government. So first and foremost, education. How do we build for the future? We've been investing over the past several years in the blueprint for Maryland's education's future. Many goals, and I can say that we are nearly there. This next year will be the 3rd year we've been investing heavily in that, and that will include early childhood education, providing high quality and diverse teachers for our students, and to prepare our students for college and other career readiness opportunities. We've also just recently opened a new Board of Education administration building last year, and we're in the planning and design phase for a new replacement elementary school in Centerville, along with many other major system renovations at various schools within Queen Anne's County. We're also looking towards the future in the out years to expand both our high schools, Queen Anne's High School and Kent Island High Schools, to provide additional capacity needs in the future. And while we're talking about education, can't avoid mentioning Chesapeake College. We're enjoying this beautiful facility here today, but we are financially supporting the advancement of a new technology center here at the college, which will be appropriately named the Queen Anne's Technical Building. So that is going to support our robust CTE program going forward, and we hope to see that undergo in design phase actually next month. Public safety. Happy to say that we are partners with the University of Maryland Medical Systems for the new regional hospital, and we've provided financial support to assist with the construction of this new hospital facility, which is in Talbot County, to serve not only Queen Anne's County, but the entire Midshore region. So it's a big project, over $600 million to fund that project, and it is underway. If you've been down Route 50, you can see it's coming up out of the ground now. So a very sorely needed piece of infrastructure to provide services to this region. Next, water and sewer services. We are in the final phases of the South Kent Island Public Sewer Service Expansion Project. That was an environmental project to provide services to those citizens down on the Route 8 corridor. We're going to be serving over 1,500 homes and about 500 new homes on that Kent Island corridor. Next up, we have engaged in the planning design process for the second public sewer extension project. That would be to the Marling Farms and Dominion area, so another 500 homes and potentially 80 or so additional new homes in that corridor, another environmental project that is sorely needed for water quality purposes. We're engaged to do another public water system interconnection project, which is the final project in our water system program, and this would connect the Kent Narrows to the Graysonville area, and that's the final segment of our water system that will interconnect all of our water treatment plants and our water towers to provide more robust reliability to our businesses and our homeowners, and increase the ability for fire flow activities in all of our areas that have public water. Lastly, I want to mention we're happy to say that we just received a permit to re-rate our wastewater treatment plant on Kent Island. That is going to add another 300,000 gallons of capacity to the county's sewer treatment plant. That will probably be the ultimate maximum capacity that we have. So as mentioned earlier by Shelley, we have a temporary hold via a short moratorium within this service area on issuing new residential construction permits. And this will allow us time to address prudent management strategies to how we can provide allocation sales to new residents, new growth for business uses, and institutional needs in the county going forward. Next, I wanted to talk about recreation and tourism. From that perspective, we are working on a connection of the South Island Trail and the Cross Island Trail via a pedestrian bridge over US 50. If you've been down Route 8, you can see we're advancing the South Trail up towards the Target Shopping Center, and we hope to have that project complete by this year. And the next phase is to get across over US 50 with a pedestrian bridge, and we're working vigorously with our partners at MDTA and SHA to get that accomplished. We're also working on development activities for a new community recreation center, which will help to serve the central and south portion of Queen Anne's County, and that is advancing as well. And lastly, I wanted to touch on technology, and then we'll get our panel engaged here with some questions. We had a very lofty goal. This actually started before the pandemic, and that was to facilitate the expansion of broadband services to every home and business in Queen Anne's County, a countywide goal to have internet connectivity to every house. And I can say now that we're nearing completion of that. We've got several new broadband and television providers in Queen Anne's County. We used to have one for many, many years. Now we've got, I think, about 5. And we're very happy that we can have choices and options for citizens and businesses to have broadband connectivity, for their use and at their homes. So let me go over here and engage the panel. Is this on? Oh, yeah, it's on. That's good. Okay, we'll stick with the broadband theme right now. So this question here is for Megan. So during the pandemic, it was quickly brought to light the absolute necessity of broadband connectivity for all the citizens and businesses in Queen Anne's County. As we know, there were many federal, state, and local initiatives that were implemented since then, which are continuing to provide this essential service countywide. So Megan, tell us about the evolution of broadband connectivity in Queen Anne's County. What has been accomplished and what is left to do?
Right. So we are at a stage now where internet service has become almost as critical as electricity. Prior to the pandemic, we did have a broadband task force in about 2016, 2017, where we worked to put out a request for proposal to find a company that could build broadband to the entire county. We were very close to signing the deal, but we found out that the company was unable to fulfill their financial obligations, so that all fell apart. And then in 2018, the commissioners formed the Broadband Advisory Council, still in existence today. Where we started there was with a broadband study, and that helped us determine the need, how many people there were. We found out there were roughly 4,000 households that did not have broadband at that time, it helped us pinpoint the areas that we needed to try to focus on. So in 2019, the state started to put out Neighborhood Connect grants, and we won our first award going to the Bully Rock Grove Creek area. After that, we won 7 additional awards. They're kind of scattered throughout the county. With Talkie, we went to the Kingstown area. We got some smaller crossroads done with Think Big. And then BREEZELINE was the first company that we worked with Bully Rock and Grove Creek. When the pandemic hit full force, we were able to receive some of the American Rescue and Plan Act funding, where we determined as a council that we would try to go to an area that was very rural because we knew there was no return on investment in that area for companies to build to. So we worked with Think Big to build down Peters Corner Road, starting in Millington and going all the way down to Ingleside. In 2020, Talkie won the bid for the Rural Development Opportunity Fund that requires that they build extensively throughout the county. There's a lot of places that they need to go, and they have 10 years to do that, so they're still in process there. In 2021, the state started a infrastructure grant program, and they worked directly with ISPs to build out there. They worked with Chop Tank, and Chop Tank won some very large areas, one near Price and Willow Branch, and another that's north of 404, south of 304, and east of 213. So there's a large area there that should be completed. In 2023, we followed the lead of Charles County to set up a program to assist with the cost to build down long driveways. But we did find that there was a limitation there where only homes that had broadband already in front of their homes could apply for this long driveway grant. So in 2024, we worked with the commissioners again to get a middle mile grant to get to 10 additional areas that were recently completed. And now currently we're working with the state on a difficult to serve program where they have bid out 130 addresses to different ISPs, and Chop Tank and Talkie won those bids. So right now they're in the process of building to those 130 addresses, and the final push will be with a program that's called BEAD, that stands for Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, where there are 100 locations. Again, they have 100 addresses that they're trying to get to, and the state will work directly with broadband companies to build to those additional homes. So with all of the grants that we've won and that have been awarded, we believe that we've built to approximately 1,900 homes, and we have about 440 left, which include those two programs, the BEAD program and the difficult to serve programs. So there are programs still accessible. The long driveway program is still out there and available to people. So we're hoping, we're trying to get the word out a little bit more here and there to get people to see if that is available to them, if they can get to that if we can help them build to those locations. So totals expended throughout all of this, we know that at least $7.8 million have been expended. 1.3 million of that is county funding. So we've been very lucky in getting funding from the federal and state government.
All right, thanks, Megan. That's great. It's been a big goal, and we're almost across the finish line. So that's great.
It's been a long road.
When we talk about the broadband expansion, can you tell us a little more about the public and private partnerships that have helped accelerate that deployment and how that has improved the broadband infrastructure to support our business community, our remote work options for our citizens, and of course, public education?
Right, the state of Maryland has done an exceptional job at making funds available. Federal funds that are flowing through the state have helped tremendously, and we hope that continues until everyone is served. We also need to send a big thank you to our service providers that have come through to get to businesses. We have BREEZELINE and Chop Tank at the business park on Kent Island. We also have Comcast building their way towards the Bay Bridge, and Talkie is everywhere. I'm sure everybody's seen their trucks everywhere. Think Big is now IQ Fiber, and they've remained in the northern part of the county mostly, but we're hoping that we're going to pull them down to get to everywhere else. And all of these companies have made improvements in our ability to connect for education resources, medical resources, working from home, and we've been able to reach communities that we've never been able to reach before. So we're very thankful, and we're also thankful to the Maryland Broadband Co-op for coming through for us a few times too. So thanks, Drew.
All right, great. Well, let's shift over to some more traditional type of infrastructure: water, sewer, roads, schools, school capacity. And this question is for Steve Cahoon. So when talking about the county's infrastructure now and in the future and how that aligns with economic development strategies, it's important to understand how the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance works, otherwise known as the APFO. So can you give us all here today an overview of that process, what the APFO, what it means, how it is determined, adequacy, and then where there may be capacity shortfalls when evaluating these new development projects and how we overcome those?
Sure, thank you very much. Basically, APFO is a test of the existing infrastructure to see if it's in place to support new development when it occurs. And we have an APFO for a couple reasons. One is to safeguard that the infrastructure can keep pace with new development as it occurs, that we're going to have the infrastructure there when development happens. Also, if we get a surge in development and it looks like development could outpace our infrastructure, the APFO gives us a legally defensible mechanism to slow growth down or to stop growth while we provide the infrastructure that's necessary. One of the other things the APFO does is it creates predictability in our development review process for the development community. So when a developer comes in, knowing whether we have adequate infrastructure for their project or whether there's infrastructure needs for their project is a very important first step in the process, and very important to know going in before millions of dollars are spent on property and engineering. So what type of properties are required to test for adequate infrastructure? Larger projects, residential projects over 20 units, apartment buildings, subdivisions, condo buildings, those types of things. So those are residential projects over 20 units. Commercial developments that are going to generate more than 25 peak hour trips. If you're going to have cars coming and going more than 25 in your peak hour, you'll end up doing an APFO study. And those are going to be gas stations, convenience stores, restaurants, office buildings, those types of things. And the APFO is a county ordinance that applies to projects in the county, but not the incorporated towns. The incorporated towns have their own planning and zoning authority. So how does it work? So like I said, early in the process, before a lot of money is spent on engineering, it's important to understand whether there's any infrastructure hurdles. So when a major project is proposed, the developer has a location, they have a project, and they look at the impacts of their project on 4 specific components of infrastructure: public water, public sewer, public schools, and public roads. So with public water, they look at things like, are the water lines in place to serve this community? Are the water lines the right size? If not, then the study will identify the deficiencies. For public sewer, does the sewer treatment plant have capacity for their development? Are the sewer lines in place the right size for their development? Are they adequate to serve the development? If not, the study will identify the deficiencies. Public schools, the study looks at the specific school districts being served, the specific elementary school, middle school, and high school the project will be generating students and sending them to make sure there are seats available for those kids when they show up. If the school systems are over 100% capacity, then we have an issue that we need to deal with. Public roads, the study looks at the existing traffic, the existing amount of roads on, or existing amount of traffic on the roads in that location, and then looks at the new traffic that'll be generated by the development and determines whether there's going to be delay or new congestion in that area and what needs to be done about it. So if you go through the study process and you get a letter from the county identifying, yes, infrastructure is adequate, then you can move forward to engineering and go through the development review process and go before the Planning Commission and seek your approvals. If you get a no, that infrastructure is not adequate, you'll also get where it's not adequate and what needs to be done. The developer has 2 options at that point. They have the option of waiting for the county to provide the adequate infrastructure, provide the seats in the schools, provide the upgrades necessary, or they can propose a mitigation plan identifying how they are going to make infrastructure adequate for the project that they are proposing. So what's that look like? So for water, a developer may need to put in new water lines, increase the size of water lines, that type of thing. For sewer, a developer may need to increase the size of sewer lines, upgrade them, put in a pump station, those types of things. For schools, if school capacity is not adequate, they may need to contribute to a capital project that the county's doing to create new capacity. They may need to write a check to create seats in the schools. And for public roads, if it's not adequate, then the developer may need to put in a traffic light, put in turn lanes, make traffic improvements in that area to improve the flow of traffic. So with that, we've had an APFO in place for about 25 years. We've had about 140 studies done over that time. And throughout that process, we've always worked back and forth to identify what's needed and projects have moved forward. We really haven't had a situation where projects have been significantly delayed for a long period of time. And that's in part because the county's kept up with their obligation to create and put infrastructure in place. Currently, we do know We have two areas where infrastructure is meeting its capacity. One is the sewer treatment plant, where we are nearing capacity on the plant, and Todd mentioned the re-rating, which is helpful. But we need to be conscious that once that capacity is used up, that will be the maximum we have. We don't have an option. Another area of capacity in the APFO is school capacity. Kent Island High School is currently at 100% of capacity. However, the county commissioners are working with the Board of Ed to provide, and are currently planning for expansion of the high schools, and there are the capital budgeting process is considering new capacity for the high schools. So where there are constraints, the county's meeting our responsibility to provide that infrastructure.
All right, great. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that response. And, the APFO has been in place, as you said, 25 years, and it's done a great job at managing and helping us be prudent stewards of development activities and managing our infrastructure accordingly with our commissioners and our development community. So my next question, and I know everyone's anxious to hear about this, our most notable transportation project that is critical not only to Queen Anne's County and the Eastern Shore, but really to the entire great state of Maryland. And one could say that this is the most important transportation project that the state will ever undertake, and that is the replacement of our Chesapeake Bay bridges. So, Melissa, this has been a long process. We've been talking about it for a lot of years, a lot of study efforts. Can you provide an update for us all of the process, where the project currently stands, and what can we expect next?
Sure, I'm happy to. It's
All right.
a little tough to change gears. As I told Steve this morning, I'm very passionate about APFOs. It's one of my favorite topics, but I was very interested in your presentation, but I will change gears and I will talk about the Bay Crossing, because that's another one of my absolute favorite topics to talk about. The timing is wonderful because on December 18th, we just had some very exciting news. MDTA's board recently approved Alternative C as MDTA's recommended preferred alternative. I'll explain what that means, but first I'd like to just take a couple minutes and talk to you about Alternative C and why the board chose that as MDTA's recommended preferred alternative. So what are some of the benefits and why is this alternative so wonderful? Well, this alternative would replace the existing two spans. As Todd said, we say the Bay Bridge, but we all know that there are two spans. There's an eastbound and a westbound span. It would replace the two existing spans with two new 4-lane spans, which would enhance safety and add needed capacity over the bay. It would limit two-way operations. We all know about contraflow when we have vehicles moving in different directions on the same bridge. It would significantly limit that. It would provide full width shoulders for maintenance and emergencies. So we would have 12-foot inside shoulders, 4 12-foot travel lanes, and then 14-foot outside shoulders. It would provide a 230-foot vertical navigational clearance, which would, of course, enhance access to the Port of Baltimore. It would eliminate the need for extensive maintenance and rehabilitation of the existing aging spans. And it would also include the commitment to support local transit service in both counties, and include additional study of the optional shared use bike ped path on the bridge. The new eastbound structure, as I said, there would be two new structures. So the new eastbound structure would be located south of the existing eastbound structure. The new westbound structure would be located between the two existing structures, and the existing two spans would be removed. And the new spans would also include pier protection to meet current standards. Of course, everyone cares about the cost. So just a little bit of information there. The cost without the shared use path would be somewhere between $14.8 and $16.4 billion. And with the shared use path, the cost would be somewhere between $16.1 and $17.6 billion. Just want you to keep in mind that those numbers are preliminary. They are planning level cost estimate numbers. And really at this point, the point of those cost numbers is to allow us to compare between the build alternatives. As I said, there are 7 alternatives that we looked at, 1 no build and 6 build. Alternative C, the recommended preferred alternative, is the least costly of the build alternatives. It also has the least environmental impacts of the build alternatives. A little bit more about Alternative C, looking at the economic benefits of construction of this alternative, looking at the benefits for the counties, but also for the state of Maryland as a whole. We did some economic modeling to see how it would impact the state, and we're looking at bringing in somewhere between $17 to $23 billion into the local economy, creating over 61,000 jobs with over $4 billion in wages, and that's just during the construction period for the new bridges. Benefits to the state would include boosting the GDP by 10.5 to nearly $13 billion. Other benefits to the state overall, of course, by increasing the clearance of the new Bay Bridge to 230 feet, keeping in mind that would match the vertical clearance of the new Key Bridge, thus increasing access to the Port of Baltimore. This new vertical clearance would allow for larger cargo ships, as well as larger, I didn't know if you were cutting off. I'm sorry. Larger cargo ships and cruise lines on these larger vessels would allow more cargo. More cargo, of course, equals more money coming into the port. More money coming into the port is more business, is more jobs. These are all things that help improve and spur on the economy for Baltimore. So, Alternative C, I hope everyone's interested in learning a little bit more about it. When do we have that opportunity? Okay, on January, it is January now, January 23rd, you will see in the Federal Register, we will be announcing the availability of the Draft Environmental Impact Statement, the DEIS. That document will be available at baycrossingstudy.com, as well as at several local libraries and public facilities throughout the counties. It will be available online on the website, letting you know where the documents will be available for you to review. You will be able to also come to public meetings. There will be one in Queen Anne's County, one in Anne Arundel County, and also online. Those dates will be announced on January 23rd, and the meetings will be in early February. At those meetings, you will learn about not just the recommended preferred alternative, but all of the build alternatives, as well as the no build alternative. There will be detailed information provided about the environmental impacts, the costs, detailed analysis, and all that information will be there. There will be staff available for you to ask your questions, receive information, and provide testimony as well, realizing that these are public hearings. So, great timing. Please keep your eyes open. We will be sharing with the county, of course, when the dates are available for the hearings, and I hope to see everyone there. I hope everyone takes advantage of the opportunities to learn more about the project and to provide their input on the projects as well.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. That's great. Great overview. And real quick, when can we expect shovels in the ground?
Okay, that's a very exciting question. So I like to say if the stars align, if everything goes well, we began the project in 2022. We are on schedule to finish the planning at the end of this year in November of 2026, this year. And that would be the FEIS rod. And then once planning is complete, we would move on to design construction. Design could begin as soon as 2028. If everything goes well, we would be hoping to move forward with construction as early as 2032.
All right, outstanding.
So,
well, we'll
very
keep,
exciting, yes.
We'll keep your feet to the fire on that one, okay? I promise.
I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're a little behind schedule, but I just want to mention it in closing here. We have been keeping pace and investing in Queen Anne's County, the future of Queen Anne's County and economic business growth with all of our dedicated DTA, the University of Maryland Medical Systems, of course, the Board of Education and Chesapeake College, and lastly, our county commissioners who are leading all of these visions forward. So we appreciate that. So let's have a quick round of applause for our panelists. Thank you all for being here. And it's time for our next panel to come up. This is the Community Voices panel. So I'd like to introduce County Commissioner Patrick McLaughlin, who will be moderating this next panel, this next section.